think. Oh, no. Okay, continue. Okay, there we go.
Okay, great. I'm ready to get started if you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then hopefully we'll have some more people join. I think the link should be good now.
Okay, yep.
Okay, perfect.
And I think I got it replaced, so I think we're okay.
Cool. Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Women's History Month. It's coming to us. So excited to be talking to you guys. First, we'd like to welcome Toni Scruggs. Toni is a talented session singer and background vocalist. She's sung with, get ready, Anita Baker, Mary J. Blige, Christina Aguilera, Jennifer Hudson, Michael Bublé, Katy Perry, just to name a few. Most notably, she spent the past 13 years working as a background vocalist for Chaka Khan. Her vocal range is an impressive 5 octaves. And
on the bottom, not the top. Definitely on the bottom.
Still, how is that even possible?
Thank you.
And just she does it all. So she can be found also like as a contractor, composer, vocal arranger, choir master. She does it all. Also, so happy to welcome Sara Niemietz, yes, a talented vocalist and consistent member of Postmodern Jukebox. She's performed everywhere from Broadway to Radio City Music Hall to the Grand Ole Opry, not to mention all over the world on tour. She started out in the entertainment industry as early as age 9. She worked in theater, television, film roles, soundtrack production, music videos, CDs. She also does it all. Just the surface of her genre and her roles. And in 2012, she charted number 14 on the Billboard magazine's Next Big Sound and has been featured on several TV specials alongside legendary artists. I'm so honored to be speaking with the two of you today. Thank you so much for coming here to speak with us. And let's just dive right in. So that was, just scratching the surface of everything that you both do. And so I was wondering if you could talk a bit about all of the roles that you've had within the industry and maybe expand a bit on some of the things that I mentioned so people can get like a grasp of who you are and what you love to do. Sara, if you'd like to start.
Sure. Well, my very first gig was wherever I could get one. So as a kid, I would karaoke whenever I had the opportunity just to get out and sing and sing. And my parents actually took me karaokeing when I was a really little toddler. So that was kind of how I learned to read as well, just seeing all of the words go by. So those were my first gigs were unpaid, of course. And still sometimes they are, but usually not. But my first gig, I was on Broadway as a kid in Carol Burnett's show, and then some commercial voiceover stuff over the years, some more theater, and touring with PMJ. And lately, I've been focused on my own projects, writing and recording. And during COVID, also producing videos out of my house, video editing, doing a lot of stream shows. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell and my 3.5 octave range.
So impressive.
It's average.
I couldn't. Well, that's brilliant. Oh, I don't know, just growing up with music, always love hearing those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. My parents would take me to hear live music, and I was thinking back on that just this morning, what an important part of the community live music is, and just to have clubs where you can go hear established artists and just learn from your community in that way. I think it's so important. That's why it breaks my heart when clubs are closing, Blue Whale closed and all these places with COVID, but hopefully things will come back.
Yeah, things are looking up. I think we're ready. I want to see you live now that we're like friends.
Yes.
Definitely want to dive into things that you mentioned. But Toni, would you like to also give a little background on yourself?
Sure. It's crazy. I probably work now more than I did before the world fell apart. And I'm so thankful. I'm knocking wood every day. I'm hugging the necks of all the people that put me on union work. Like, thank you so much. You're saving my life right now. But yeah, I'm back into union stuff. I was live a lot for probably 15 years. I've been on the road. I started in 2006 when I moved to LA, 2005, and then went on the road with Shaka in 2006, and then a bunch of other people after that. So I've been on the road for 15 years. So it just kind of all came to a halt. And thankfully, in the last 4 or 5, I've been doing more union work, and people have been taking me more seriously as an actual reading, versatile, multilingual singer. So I'm doing more TV and movie stuff. I just I was the vocal producer. I was in charge of all things singing, including the stars for Genius Aretha on National Geographic. And I have my first official grown-up credit as the vocal producer. I was so proud. But I actually, I've been scouting my whole life. Like, who do they hire? Who hired that person? Why does it sound like that? Who? And just, fussing the whole time from the other end, Monday morning quarterbacking. Yeah. But I finally actually got to be a part of the process and be a part of quality control. And on top of, actually lending my voice to backgrounds and vocal producing Cynthia Erivo, who's the star, and Lil Ree, who was the little girl that played Aretha Franklin as a child. And just doing all kind of stuff like that, and still doing union sessions. Thank God, I've done a few from here from home, including a lot of shows. I actually have one that I'm really excited about that I don't think I can mention yet. I think I have to wait. Oh, and it's breaking my heart. It's one of my favorite shows on ABC. And if you follow me on social media, I'll be able to tell you more. But I mean, everything from The Simpsons to Euphoria on HBO to the Lion King movies, the Lion King, the Lion Guard spinoff that they kind of had in between the animated and the live action, Bad Boys for Life, all these, God bless it, all of these wonderful residual projects. And just, every week it's something new and something different. And then that's just TV and movies. We haven't even hit the surface of or gone beneath the surface of the recordings, Katy Perry, the Isley Brothers, Patti LaBelle, everybody, child, Michael Bublé, all kind of people. So I'm thankful for my career. I really am. And I'm grateful because it was kind of rocky for a long time. Like Sarah said, sometimes not getting paid, honey, sometimes getting $25. But I was born and raised in church. So unfortunately, I know the deal. So just kind of cutting my teeth in church and then moving on from there to jazz. So yeah, just kind of doing all kind of stuff, and then doing live stuff where I'm doing jazz like Sarah. We, I think, work with the same guy on occasion, Ryan Cross, and he does a lot of jazz stuff. So we do a lot of, pop or jazz arrangements for pop songs and oldies and stuff like that. But we always throw that jazz in there, make sure they know we are still jazz people. We still have the chops.
I would love to ask you a question if I could. I don't want to take this panel over. This is yours, Amanda. But I follow you on social media, Toni. And
I follow you too.
Woo! And I know you like me. I don't know if you're an INFJ like him, but I know you're an introvert from
yes, I am.
On your post.
ISTP.
ISTP, okay.
Yep.
So I know that we are a lot alike in that way. And I'm just curious what your experience is like when you are on the touring end of it and on the performing end of it as an introvert in a very extroverted role.
Exactly. So I think I'm an ambivert who knows when to put the hat on and play the game like, hi, everybody. Yeah, let's tell jokes and be happy.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, when I get back to whatever room I'm in, I pass out. And it takes me 3 days to recover from all that interaction. But for the most part, it's a lot of people misunderstanding who you are and what you're thinking and what you're doing. Because you're not like all, thrilled about everything, which a lot of extroverts seem to be thrilled about everything. But, you're not as bubbly as a lot of the girls are. So it's kind of hard. Like, no, I'm totally cool. I don't have an attitude today. I promise. I'm an introvert and I need to hold this energy because you want me to do a show and a sound check. And then I have to put all my freaking makeup and hair and become a whole different human before we go on stage. Like, I'm just trying to conserve all that energy so that I can, perform and do what I have to do, and then actually go run upstairs, pack my bag, and then get ready for a plane ride, usually about 5 o'clock in the morning.
And get ready
So
to sight read and be on
yeah,
to the next session. And
literally. I mean, getting off a plane on Sunday afternoon to, hit the session on Monday,
yeah.
Monday through Friday. So it's kind of hard being misunderstood a lot because people think, oh, she's such a jerk and she's cold and she's distant. And I'm like, I'm just an introvert. I got to conserve all that energy. I have to do stuff tomorrow. So it's a lot of misconception, unfortunately.
Well, at least when I first met you, I could tell you were quiet, but it didn't seem in an off-putting way. It was
Oh,
just a calm, quiet energy, and I was like, all right,
yeah,
she's here, she's scoping out the gig, she's doing her
you
thing,
get
and
it.
she's seeing it.
That's because you get it. That's why.
I get it, I
You
get
get
you.
it. Yeah. Sorry. We're
All right, I'm giving the panel back. Sorry.
right. We're having whole moments. We have to call each other and talk.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have our own little Zoom meeting.
But just for a short talk, it doesn't have to be a lot. We'll do 10 minutes. You're good, I'm
Exactly.
good. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, we're sorry. Go ahead.
All right.
I'm so glad that like a lot of people can relate, and like,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that slips my mind, but it's definitely like people feel that. Like, how do I like around people constantly? And so Sarah, that was a brilliant question. But
Oh.
I'm sure you brought it up for a reason, so I'd love to also hear you answer it if you would like.
Right. That'd be a
Wow.
great question for you to answer.
Yeah, I mean, I feel much the same as Toni. I mean, in a 3.5 octave way. It's a little less impressive, but yeah, I think I come off as very bubbly, and I am, but I definitely get my energy from time spent alone, time spent reading, recharging. I'm a terrible cook, but I love just, cutting onions and putting some great music on the stereo and just,
Yeah.
being kind of in my little bubble. So
Mhm.
it's funny because what I love doing is performing, and it seems so extroverted, and it is a way for me to connect with other people. But at the same time, especially when I'm on tour, if you've got, you know, seven shows in a row, I need to make sure that I spend that time back in the hotel room or in a very long bath just to
Yeah.
recharge. Otherwise, while I will still feel happy, my smile will just kind of like get stuck like that, and you kind of see there's like nothing behind the eyes.
Mhm.
So I need to make sure I recharge so I can be
Yeah,
present.
for sure. Do you think though that like being so comfortable like with yourself and being alone and these like gives you like helps creatively, like
For
because you're
me, it does.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, it definitely does. The more time that I can kind of be alone and check in with myself, and I know it's different for everyone, but for me to pray and to meditate, like Toni says, she grew up in the church. I did too. So just kind of time to check back in and refocus on the fact that singing is a way of spreading love and of being able to express and heal.
Yeah.
uh, it helps me to kind of tap back in with that rather than just entertain.
Hmm. For sure. I love that, like finding that balance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was wondering if both of you would like to comment, but I was just wondering like if you had any, advice or anything that's helped you with like mindset wise of like how to keep that balance, you know, with that, or even just, oh, I'm on tour and I have a family, like just balance in general. Give me thoughts.
It's really about making sure you take that time for yourself and making sure that you're taking care, self-care. I know it's cliche. I know it is, but it's true.
Yeah.
We have to take care of ourselves because a lot of people just aren't, they don't really care about how you feel as a human. And if your foot hurts or if, all the things that are going through are happening to you, they want the job done. That's it. So you really have to like give yourself enough time. That's my thing. I've even noticed here in COVID is give myself enough time. Even when somebody asks you, okay, how fast can you do this? Think about it, add a day.
Oh,
Think about how long
got
it
it.
is, add 8 hours. Like you have to give yourself more time so that you can breathe, get a quality product out, and still maintain your sanity. Because sometimes it can just be so whirlwind and everybody needs everything yesterday. And it's like, okay, that's not true. That is not true. You don't need it yesterday because it's Friday and you're not going to look at this until Monday. So stop putting fire under me when you're not even going to look at this for 3 more days.
Oh, that's
So
true. And my
it's so
answer,
true.
I always, I was always brought up, you like work as hard as you can, so like they need it. Yeah, I'll get it done yesterday. Okay. But I do have to check in and reacquaint and go, okay. Like you said, if I stop and I slow down, the quality will probably be better.
Yeah.
And I won't be pulling my hair out at the end of the day, at 3 a.m, comping vocals and going, oh, why did I say yes?
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I feel like a lot of us in here are college students and we really needed to hear that. I loved the think about it and add a day. I need to I need to
Add a day. Yeah. And because we put ourselves under unhealthy deadlines.
right.
I can get that to you in 3 hours. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Say, when is this actually going to be mixed and mastered?
Right.
Because if it's not in 3 hours, I have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So if I could get this to you by tomorrow, by the day after tomorrow, and still keep my sanity, then that's a thing. And that also makes people realize that you are not just sitting around waiting for them to call.
Yeah.
You're doing other things. You have a life. You have school. You have other classes. You have other projects. You have things that you want to do. Shoot, if you just want to sit and scratch and watch, the time warp on freaking on, whatever show, on whatever, that's what you chose to do that day. So make sure you're taking your plans, even if it's to do nothing and to just recharge. Take that all into consideration.
And
Make
there's
sure.
only so much time. So when you say yes to something, in essence, you're saying no to something else. So you
Say
don't.
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's brilliant. All of it. Everybody write that down. I'm wondering, like, from an industry student perspective, like if that kind of work culture, is something that maybe like people in the industry part of it like can change, or something we can do to help the artists. I don't know, anything that you would like to kind of see that like the younger generation will fix when we get there.
I would say just keep working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep working, never stop being a student. I know the whole goal of school is to graduate, but there are ways that you learn that don't necessarily have to do with testing and with, regurgitation and proving that you know it. I really honestly tell people, I'm like, stay a student. When you stay a student, you stay humble, you still go and you do your homework, because at the end of the day, it's all doing homework and it's being prepared for the gig. And it's just like school. It's like being prepared for your solo, what do they call them? Your showcase. I know it's not a showcase, but your recital. Being prepared for your recital. It's like a recital. You take every gig that seriously, you're always going to be ready and prepared. Always.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about it, whether it is an important session where, you're singing in another language, or it's just a small gig you're doing for a friend. You have an opportunity to learn there and to really bring your best to it. And it's been on some of these little gigs that I did starting out where you're singing. I always think back to this gig where I opened for Shrimp, because on the poster for the gig, it was like Shrimp Buffet with music by Sara Niemietz.
And Sara Niemietz. Exactly. You're like,
It's
great.
like a puppet show and Spinal Tap,
Cool.
so I kind of felt like that moment. But you learn in those, even if no one's listening. And I just really believe the adage, walk with the wise and become wise. So I'm always wanting to surround myself with people who know more than I do, which is basically everyone. Everyone knows something I don't know. So
Yeah.
I like to listen and learn.
I love that. Brilliant. Hopefully that's a little bit of what we're doing here too, is like learning.
I know, I'm taking notes. I'm listening to Toni.
You kidding? Man, listen, we colleagues. We on the same level, madam. Same level. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I love your interactions, by the way. Also just kind of sitting back and watching you two talk. So I was hoping we could like transition a bit. I guess we're still, talking about balance and this work culture that's been created, but I was wondering how that's also affected by like being a woman in the industry, and specifically in jazz, and being a vocalist, all of those things, if we could start to dive into all that.
Gosh, man, What a loaded question. Um,
How much time do we have?
exactly. And then how do I say it? It's like being a surgeon. How do I say it and keep a gig? Let's see here.
Yeah.
Don't say who hired you for
Exactly.
whatever that experience was.
It's great. No, it's changing. Thank God. Okay. Okay, that's safe. It's changing.
Mhm.
It was a good old boy thing though, where it's still a male dominated thing being on the road. So there are problems that ladies have that men do not understand, and especially when you have a male MD or a male artist even. There are just things that they're like, what? Why do you need 2 hours to get ready before a show? I'm like, because I become a whole different human. You see me now.
Take the
I'm
2
at
hours.
sound check.
Take the 2 hours away. Do you want?
I,
Do you want
do
that?
you really?
That's what
Do
you
you
want.
really? Do you want me to wear what the drummer's wearing? Because I could absolutely come out in a black t-shirt, black jeans, some black chucks, and have a hat on. Is that okay for you? No, it's not. Don't lie. It's not. So there are a lot of things, and of course it's more than makeup, but time allotment, you definitely get a lot of issues as it pertains to women that the men have worked with before, especially as an introvert. Like I was saying, extroverts are excited. They're always openly, publicly thrilled about everything.
Yeah.
So when you're not, they're like, ew, what's wrong with that girl? And you're like, I'm just, I just want to do the gig and go home. Is that okay? Because I got a lot more to do. Once I get home, I have to demake. I have to take this hair off. I gotta put all my shoes back. I gotta do this. I got a lot to do, and that's me. I gotta drive myself home unless we're on the road.
The
But
drive.
like,
Oh, and there is a thing. I'm sure you have felt this and know this too, Tony. There's the chick singer stigma.
absolutely,
That is very much a thing,
absolutely.
and kind of seen. It depends on who you're working with. Of course, there are a lot of people that don't, but there are all these chick singer jokes, and kind of the female vocalist is placed below the other musicians, and there is that separation where it's seen that the female singer kind of just shows up, probably doesn't know much theory, doesn't know what keys her songs are in, and sometimes you're kind of regarded with that that vibe, and that can be kind of hard to overcome at times, and as a female singer I find myself wanting to work extra hard just to show, okay, I'm not like this. I can, I can read, and here's my book, and you kind of have to fight that. I don't know if you've experienced that. I'm sure you have.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. But I assert my dominance, my dominance early.
Okay, yeah.
You must.
I remember you singing Lush Life on
Yes.
soundcheck one time.
Hmm. Listen, I will assert my dominance because you have to, especially as the girl singer. You do get that, that here's a girl, here we go. We're gonna sing ballads all night. No, it's not gonna happen. We can sing a lot of different things because I'm not just your girl singer. I'm a female musician who happens to use her voice as her instrument. I know almost as many songs as you, if not more. Definitely, probably more. I've done more top 40 gigs. I've done more jazz gigs. I've done more pop gigs than most of those dudes. So I'm like, I have the real world experience, which a lot of you don't. So just follow me, okay? Just follow me. And
That
once I
real world
do,
experience is everything.
that's it. And then once you actually start directing them and telling them and giving them cutoffs and giving them dynamics, and they're like, oh, and they start paying attention, like, oh, this will be fun. And then when you have a good band, a good, section, they're going to be right there along with you for the ride.
So much
And I
fun.
love it.
I've had
Oh,
accompanists go, "Wow, you're looking at me. You're interacting with me." And to me, that's, of course you are. It's another musician you're working with, but
right. You're
they
part of
have,
the conversation, sir. Why would I
yeah,
look at you?
they have a
Yeah,
preconceived notion sometimes that you're
I
just
know.
me.
But then we meet those girls, we're like, oh,
Ooh.
that makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing when everyone has the same expectations of each other and you're on the same playing field. That's when you can have fun and play.
Yes. And stretch out.
Stretch.
Because when you don't have the guy who has all the top 40 done and he's got all the pop tunes done
Mm.
that don't go as far as a jazz the intellectualness, the intellectuality of jazz, which I love. You know, you can spread out a lot more because they have a lot more. They can play in all the keys.
Yeah.
They know all the scales. They
You're
know major and minor and the
all the
difference.
fingers. Yeah.
All the fingers, no
All
transpose button here.
no.
So, and then the guy will have more than just sticks. He'll have mallets, he'll have brushes, he'll have, you know, maybe a little block or a little egg or something.
When
So
you said
you
the
get,
transpose button, that took me back to a gig I did a long time ago. There was this pianist who would just play, kind of just played in one key, but he'd be like, "Okay, this is in G." I'm like, "Oh
you're like, okay, are you okay? You need some time? What are we doing there? What's that button you're pushing there, friend? What's that?
no,
Okay.
oh that button." But you learn from it, right? You know.
You do. Everything is a learning scenario. Everything is a learning experience for real.
For sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, starting to touch on all that. It just like it breaks my heart because I hear that same answer like all the time from especially, well, not especially, from both vocalists and instrumentalists, that it's just like what are they, why do the men do this? But and we were talking about like, it's changing, which is good, and walking in there and asserting dominance, we love that. But I was just wondering if there's anything that you think we should be doing, or as a whole, like men and women, or and all people, like things that we can be doing, or just continue to walk in there like, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to show you that I know what I'm doing.
See, but here's the thing. Asserting your dominance is different than being arrogant.
Right.
Because as the girl singer, usually somebody has to drive the boat. And we would love that it be the singer. I particularly love that it's the singer. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the singer is not as capable, and that's okay, because it's not something that you necessarily have to have. That's what MDs are for. But you have to make sure that people know if you are able in that capacity to drive the ship, then definitely make sure, hey, I'm in front, I'm the boss tonight.
Right.
Because sometimes they don't, that's not the case. So I would say just, make sure that you're asserting your dominance if that's your thing. No arrogance. We are coming all together to have a conversation. This is all professionals. There is no person that is better than the other. We are all trying to get this check and go home. Amen. We're trying to get this check. We're trying to go home and apply it to a bill. That's pretty much it. So my thing is just be better.
Yeah.
When you do your homework, when you know all the scales, when you can play in all the keys, that puts you in a step above a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people who are like, I don't have to learn theory. I don't have to learn scales. I'll just play in this. This is fine. I got like 4 chords on my guitar. Who needs more than that? You kind of do if you want to do this for a living. And I say, there are weekend warriors, and I don't have any problem I don't have anything, nothing against weekend warriors. But it's hard to work with weekend warriors when you cross that threshold into being a professional.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, if you were on a construction job site and I showed up with a hammer and was like, "Where do I go?" They will probably.
I don't know why people don't get that. Like, it's the exact same thing. But like, I got my guitar in the back if you guys need a guy. This is a wedding gig. We're a whole band. Why would we need a guy? There's already a guy on the guitar. Okay, chill. Okay.
I like the metaphor too of music as a conversation. And I think it's so important that everything surrounding music be a conversation too. So whether that's inequity and the different ways that it shows, I think it's just helpful that we're having these conversations. It's not going to immediately solve anything, but I think it makes people consider other people's points of view and experience, and hopefully if I were to watch one on drummers talking about how their experiences, hopefully I could take something away from that on how I could better treat drummers. They got to count to 4, so no, I'm just kidding. So I just want to learn how I can treat people better and hopefully be a little better myself.
Yeah, I love that mindset.
Drummers count much higher than 4. I have
definitely it's a joke. These are the jokes, friend. These are the funnies. These are the laughs. These are the laughs. But that's something I took from Layla Hathaway. She said that. I was like, that's genius. It's a conversation. Everybody's going to share their piece, And hopefully we're going to all come together and make a beautiful sound, but it's all beautiful because we've all contributed to the conversation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is beautiful. I mean, it's just such a, expressive art form, and just brings people together like it is now, which is really exciting. And yeah, powering through all that. But I'm wondering also, you know, not to drag it on too long, but if you just had any like advice for, particularly like the women in here. Oh, someone's doing this. Or like a certain mindset that you had to have going in that you can kind of pass on to our college students that are going to enter the industry soon.
Mine's pretty general. I would just say practice, practice, practice. This is more for singers, but just listen as much as you can to great singers that have come before you. I used to just love listening to Billy and Ella and just Sarah Vaughan and just listening to songs over and over and over and over again. And you would hear something new every time, transcribing scats and that kind of thing. And just practicing and learning as much as you can, even if it seems not relevant to the particular gig you're on, because it will all come together. So my thing is just be ready so that when the opportunity comes, you can get in there and assert your dominance, like Toni said.
Brilliant.
and my thing is always be prepared. Always be prepared. You must be ready for whatever possibly could come your way. But for the most part, I'd also say I had a really hard time early on in my career because I came from a whole other life. I was an executive assistant until I was 24. And so I was used to a steady check. I was used to the same money. I was used to being able to survive working a job. So when I got into music, that was not the way it was. You do not have the same payroll department working, nonstop to keep that check going. You got the artists management or their money guy whose mom died and they're going to be out of the office for a month. So the gigs that you just did, you won't be paid for a month. So it's like, oh, so I would say, I hate to say it, but there is no loyalty, none whatsoever. You are loyal to the check, and you're loyal to the music and the integrity of the music. But as it pertains to artists, honey, work for as many as you humanly possibly can, even at the same time, until the scheduling doesn't work out anymore, because you got to knit those checks together so that you can actually make a living as well. And if you cannot do that with music, that's not a problem. It's entirely possible to do music for fun, for love of the game, to even do it on the side of your main employment. That's totally okay, because you still have to pay bills. I mean, there's some people that are okay living with their parents. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. I like to pay my bills on time. I like to have my bills on auto pay. So I like to definitely keep several employers at one time. And if not several employers, listen, a day job. There is nothing disgraceful. There is nothing embarrassing about keeping a day job that absolutely pays the bills. And you can find some that are actually flexible. They'll be like, oh, you're going for the weekend, you got to go on tour and you have to have Friday off. Ask them.
Yeah,
Ask
and I
them,
know
let
plenty
them
of
know.
singers that drive Uber or whatever because it's
Yes.
flexible and you can work in your own time. And I'm so glad you brought that up because the finances of being a singer, of being your own independent contractor, it's serious. I'm glad that you guys are probably studying. I'm sure they teach something about this at USC in the music business. I'm sure they do, but there are so many singers that were just not taught either in school or through their communities on how to handle finances. And since you can't say for sure always when you're next, in December, when you got all the work, you got to really save it and think, okay, what's January looking like? Is it a little light? Maybe I should call some folks, see if
Oh,
they,
that,
yeah. And
that, the cycle,
no
that
one's gonna
cycle.
come, no one's gonna come to my door and go, hey, Sarah, can I give you a gig? Well, I mean, increasingly it happens, but not always. You got to really hustle for this stuff and
Yeah.
be strategic.
And that thing, I'm so glad you said that. The cycle. The cycle is from about end of spring to the mid to late fall, you are working nonstop.
Mhm.
Late fall, winter, everything is dead.
You're hibernating.
So you have to really schedule your money. You have to really be smart and strategic about how you spend your money when everything is just incredible and flowing and going. Because even if it does, or even when it does stop for live during the end of the fall and the winter time, it kind of picks up for union stuff. So if the union stuff isn't quite a union and local, depending on where you are, if you're frozen out to death in the wintertime, then maybe not so much. But in California, union and local still go. So you can still be doing TV and movies, but it's still kind of spotty and few and far between because everybody's available. So you have to really figure out, okay, do I get a job in the wintertime? Do I, work at a call center? Do I drive Uber? What do I do to kind of offset work coming to a complete halt
Yeah.
from about the end of November until probably the end of March
And
sometimes.
now we can add in, and then a pandemic comes along,
Yes.
Oh,
and
the
then it's
world falling
entirely
apart.
different again, you know?
Oh my God. Because I know a lot of people, this punched a lot of people in the gut.
Yeah.
Because like I know I've been touring for 15 years, 15. So if that was still my only bread and butter, I would be up a creek.
And it
Oh,
lost a lot of great musicians that just have gone, I can't afford to stay in California. It's too
oh,
expensive. I'm gonna
absolutely.
go. I've got buddies who have gone, I got to go back to Canada, or I'm going to go back to the Midwest. It's just,
Yeah.
it's so expensive here. But I also see there's been a lot of creativity and new work that never existed before this. So I think if we can take what we've learned in this pandemic and bring it forward when touring and all of this stuff comes back, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Such an opportunity.
For sure. Yeah. Wow. um, I mean, like, first of all, we love the hustle when you're talking about all these different things. Like, we love that in the industry. But I mean, it's just so real, everything that you were talking about. So I really appreciate you bringing that out.
It's so necessary, and I mean, it's not my personality type. It's not really the way I'm wired. I like just going with the flow, making other people happy. But I realized early on, okay, that's not gonna work. So you kind of have to find a way. You can't just sit back and go, well, I'm not designed this way. I'm not made this way. You have to figure out a way to make it work,
Yeah.
and that you can hustle and still feel good about yourself.
Yeah. I love that too. It's another thing we always talk about in my classes is like adaptability and like the music industry being.
Yeah.
Flexibility too.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I studied jazz and gospel for the first 25 years of my life. I rarely get to sing it now, but
Yeah.
it has absolutely prepared me for every gig that comes, every last one, because jazz gets you that intellectual aspect and that intellectual component. So where you can apply that and how you've learned all of that jazz to everything that you're going to do.
Right.
So that's why I say keep studying jazz because jazz gives you the intellect, it gives you the theory, and it gives you the way to notate because that's my thing. Thank God for being able to notate things because I don't have to keep it in my brain. I don't have to try to rely on my brain all the time.
Especially when you have a situation where you have a bunch of gigs on the
Oh
calendar
yeah.
or I mean, there's only so much your brain can hold. So you're very fortunate if you've grown up studying jazz because it's so cerebral. You kind of have these tools that you can bring into a top 40 gig if someone throws 30, 40 songs at you that you might not know terribly well.
Right.
So true.
Well, thank you for commenting on all that. It was very real, and I really appreciate it. But one common theme I feel like we've been talking about is just like always learning and always, taking in all this information. And I was just wondering if you had any like pivotal moments where like you learned something or I don't know, just want to share something that you learned at one point that really impacted you.
If I could jump on it, I don't want to cut you off if you were going to say something, Toni. But the first thing that came to my mind was just how the things you learn, they might not seem useful at the moment, but down the road, they can be so important. In school, I studied Chinese just because I thought it was interesting and I liked it. I mean, it's not in my heritage or anything. I just thought, wow, this is a really rich, beautiful language. So I studied it, and it was, it was good. I got credits, whatever. And then down the road, I got, when Mulan was put out again, the movie, I got some gigs singing, Reflection and different songs for the Chinese market. And it was something that I just did because I was interested in. But down the road, I think I did a corporate gig where it was a Chinese wedding, and, we sang a song in Chinese, and then someone who was on that gig then was on another, they were contracted for another Disney gig, and they said, oh, there was this girl I knew that she sings in Chinese. So it's just, I think it's so cool how everything that you do informs your greater work and who you are. And then you can get to do some gigs that you may never have been able to do otherwise. So this wasn't really asked as an advice question, but if I had to give any advice, it would be to just chase what you find interesting and what inspires you. And this sounds a little cheesy, but I really think, the universe, I really think God finds a way to like put that all together in a way that can be a benefit to you and to other people. So just do what's interesting to you.
And to pick up on something you said, one guy who was on the gig with you hired you for another.
Yes, that's why you
Every
want to be good
gig.
to people too.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You have to find a way to be polite. You don't have to like everybody, not at all, but you have to find a way to be polite, cordial, and respectful to everybody on the gig. If you don't think you can do that, you got to walk away. But you have to find a way to do it and know deep down that every gig is going to lead to something else.
Yes.
I can daisy chain my entire career back to the first gig. That's not even a gig, it was an audition. Back to the first official audition I did in LA. And I literally can daisy chain up to today.
And
Every gig connects to the last gig, every last one.
Might have been, something small or something that you were even thinking, should I even do this? Is this worth the
Right.
But then you look back, oh my gosh, thank goodness I did this.
Yeah.
For the $25. And then my other point was, once you get all of that in there, once you've done the homework, once you got all the scales, once you got all, trust it.
Yeah.
It's all in there. Once you've worked it out, once you've practiced, once you've got it in there, trust your instrument, trust your heart, trust your ear, because usually you're going to land exactly where you have to because you did the work. Yeah. Which is why I say do the work, because after a while, you can almost go on autopilot. You almost can. If you got everything in there, you've done the reps, because that's my thing. Once you're like touring, doing tour rehearsals, it's about reps. It's about getting in there and making sure you do that show over and over and over again to where you can do it in your sleep. And once you do get in there, because people are like, how do you get over nerves? Nerves, just repurpose it. It's not nerves, it's excitement. And two, it's energy. And two, if you've done the work, if you've, practiced, you make sure that your ear is good, you can hear everything, the sound is right, your look is right, you've done everything and prepared, you can just let it happen.
Yeah.
Let it happen and trust that it's gonna be great because you've done the work.
If you're not ready, no amount of nerves or freaking out at the last minute is going to help you. If you didn't prepare, you're just going to bomb it. And that's what's going to happen. Yeah. But I mean, especially with touring, when you're doing night after night, sometimes it's so hard to stay healthy on the road, or, I'll get migraines. So having that basis and that strong foundation is so helpful. So when you're not feeling 100% or you're not feeling great, to have that and know you can kind of lean back on it and still deliver is a lifesaver.
Right. Yeah. Hard work.
Hard work.
Okay, so I can't believe our time is going so quickly. Now, if anybody has any questions, I mean, I have plenty, but if anybody from our audience has any questions, now would be a time to type in the chat that you have one. But I'm going to ask another as you all think, if you would like to ask one, but please let us know. But I was wondering, I love asking this question. I don't know, this is one of my favorites that I always like ask people. But I was just wondering if there have been any surprises, in the industry, in jazz, in life, just anything that you entered in that you were like, oh wow, I really was not expecting it to be this way or for that to happen. Any notable surprises?
Every day.
every day, because you never know, especially when you start getting into the realm of the famous people. People always try to put that on me. I'm like, I am not famous. I work for famous people. I stand very close to them. They sign my checks. I am not famous. But when you work in that realm, especially with the ones that I've worked with, thank God, I'm so thankful and grateful that I work for giants and I've worked with giants in this industry. I forget that their friends are probably going to be as famous as they are. So, like, I did a gig with Mary J. Blige. It was for a benefit 10 years ago, probably now. And she was like, yeah, we're doing this benefit with a couple of my friends. I said, oh, okay, cool. So then Bono walks in and Sting walks in. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? How, huh? And then we're told, in that moment that we're singing, we're going to be the band working or playing and singing for you, Bono. And I think Edge was also playing guitar. So I was like,
Wow.
how is this my life? And then we also got to support Sting. So like, I just, those moments are priceless because those are like people that I've looked up to since I was a kid. And I'm like, how? And then even just as little as I was on Liam Gallagher's record recently. And like people would never know I'm a huge Oasis fan to the point that I like have a Liam Gallagher freaking impression. And like his tour manager was there and he was like, oh, you're pretty good. I'm like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. But like moments like that just kind of, they're just fun. How do you even explain magic moments where you're just like, God. And then like seeing my name as vocal producer for a TV show. Like I think I gasped and cried. I was like, oh my God, it happened. I'm a big kid. I'm in the credits. Look at me.
She's not just a chick singer.
No, exactly. And that kind of helps too.
Contract.
I'm a vocal contractor and producer. So it's just little, and if you make sure that you're still excited about the little things like that, you'll never get jaded. You'll never get jaded. As long as you're still, I mean, there's a couple of people where, you kind of meet the famous people, you're like, oh, they're kind of a jerk. But that's very rare. It's rare. For the most part, these are just regular people who also want to get the check and go home. So they're not like trying to be jerks to you. They're not trying to be evil or anything, but they really are just trying to get their money and go pay their bills too. So as long as you kind of keep that possibility for magic, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I like that. One of my most recent big surprises was just when we went into this whole COVID period of our existence. And I remember I had some tours with my friends and then for my own project in Europe that I was really looking forward to. I love traveling. So the fact that it was music and travel, I was really excited and to spend some time with my friends. And then it got canceled, as we all had a thousand things get canceled. And I had a day, I had my mopey day, and I had this one day where I was kind of just on my couch going, oh, this is sad, but it wasn't sustainable, and I didn't like the way it felt, thankfully. And kind of made myself take a little walk around the block, get some sunlight. And I started this series online called Weekly Wacky Wednesday, which just started as, let's try to bring some music to people, amuse some people, make my stupid jokes, see if people don't sign off. And it kind of became this really beautiful community. And tomorrow is Weekly Wacky Wednesday 54. So this thing has been going forever, and it's become this really amazing, that's the best word for it, community of people where you see them on there and you'll go, oh, hey Phil, hey Bert, hey, oh, how's Larry doing? I've got this squirrel on my deck. I call all the squirrels I see Larry. So they're all Larry. So I'm like, oh, Larry's good. I gave him some peanuts. And it's just so cool to see the way that music really connects us all. So that's been a really that's been one of my favorite surprises recently.
I'm so happy both the surprises were good. That was so.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of bad
Oh,
surprises, but who wants to
tons
hear
of
that?
bad surprises.
Yeah.
Oh, tons. You're like,
That's a different-
oh,
that's another
2
show.
shows a night, huh? I didn't know that. And I'm
What
not
do you
getting
mean
paid for
there's-
the second one.
There's
Oh.
video at 7 in the morning. Oh, it's
Oh,
on video.
oh.
Wait,
So I
there's
have to be full beat
There's a
at
rehearsal
7
on
o'clock
the
in the
off
morning.
day.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That's
arranging these
awesome.
background vocals. Hang on.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. I need a second though. I just need a minute. Thanks. Yeah, the bad surprises are plentiful. But you learn how to look at the positive ones because man.
And you get like
Oh.
a good kind of twisted, wonderful sense of humor that's kind of a defense mechanism, which is pretty fun.
Yes, you
see it
do.
in other musicians, you're like, oh, she's
I see it. I see it.
So true. It's kind of dark, but it's still funny. You're like, oh, that was a little dark.
And sometimes you don't even need to say anything. You can just look at someone on a gig and go,
And they know. And you're like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's hilarious. It's so funny.
s-
But when you find your like-minded people, you cling.
yes.
You cling. You're like, friend, oh, you get it. Oh.
And being an introvert, I love when you know someone to where you don't even have to talk that much. You can just go out to lunch
Yes.
with them and be like, so,
Yeah,
yes.
I love it. Like Delicious Dish on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm glad it all has a positive spin right now.
Yes, exactly.
We, we did get some audience questions, which is fun. Someone is asking, what are some of the like good things that have come from the pandemic? Yeah, some good things.
You know, for me, it's been being able to get back into union work. And because that is my favorite. My favorite is being in a studio, doing things exactly, well, not exactly correctly, of course, but doing things, the same time. Because sometimes you have to do things, you have to stack things. You got to do them the same way 8 times. And once you do that, you build that callus and you're like, I can do that all day on my head. How many do you need? Just run them. Just put it on a loop and run it. So I love getting back into the studio. I love being available for all this stuff because unfortunately being on the road, it took me away for upwards of, 48 to 72 hours or a tour. So I would miss all these good residual gigs. So I'm thankful that I'm able to take all the calls for these because this is saving my life. Residual checks save your life. So if you have the option of getting in the union, please do it because the gigs that you get, they don't just pay you right now. You get paid for the actual session, and then you also get residual income that sometimes you have no clue is coming, and it's a windfall, and it completely can save your life.
Be so helpful,
it's
even if it's
so
you'll open a
helpful.
check and sometimes they're hilarious after
Oh,
taking
God.
33 cents. I'm like, it almost
Oh.
cost you more than that to send this.
They'll send me a $0 check, $0 and 0 cents. You could have saved the postage, fam. Just save the postage. It's not
I
even worth
appreciate the transparency. Oh, there's another Larry out there. Hello.
the transparency.
Yeah, I guess that they're trying.
They're trying. But yeah, that's another reason to keep practicing and stay up on, your ear, your scales, your even just music knowledge. You should not only know the music of your generation. You should know the music of several generations because at the end of the day, we get paid for old people music. I'm sorry. There are not many gigs that you make a lot of money for singing new people music. And I mean, it's fun and it's cool and it's relevant, but old people pay. Old music is wonderful and it pays. And then a lot of these movies, because I just did the Dune trailer. I just sang the lead for that. We were singing Pink Floyd. Listen, you have got to know. And the reason that I knew that song was because I'm a big fan of Mary Clayton, who's another background singer who's incredible. And she wailed on that track. And they literally made me copy what she did. And it was like perfect because she did it right the first time. What am I going to add to it? But honestly, really being knowledgeable about many different types of music and also how to effectively reproduce an era,
Mm.
because that's pretty much why I got hired for this Aretha Franklin gig,
Yeah.
was because I've studied her so closely, which I do for most of the singers that I love. I studied her so closely that I could actually instruct someone else on how to sound like her, and then how to recreate runs, riffs, tones, and sounds from the decades that we were in, because she literally had hits in every decade since she was almost 14, and starting with jazz. So you have to have some kind of information about almost every era, every decade of popular music, if humanly possible. I would also say focus on the oldies. I'd say focus on the 50s, 60s, and 70s. All of it: country, jazz, blues, country rock. I call it yacht rock. I love yacht rock.
I love that. Steely Dan is my favorite band ever.
Too.
I
Oh, mine too.
I know we're talking about like paying gigs, but I would seriously pay just to get
For
to come
free.
and sing. Yeah,
For
I
free.
love it.
Him, Eric Clapton, and James Taylor. Those
Oh,
three.
Taylor. And then there's
I
just all
think
those
it's
great other artists from that time, the
oh yeah.
Ambrosia, and
Oh
just
my
like
God. Michael
like,
McDonald, who we got to tour with. Shaka and Michael did a tour 2 years ago.
oh my
And
gosh.
I was in heaven. I was in heaven
You gotta
because he
tell me
is still
next
singing
time.
like Shaka. Shaka's still singing all of her songs in the same keys. So is Michael.
I watched him
40
on something recently.
years
Sounds great.
later. And he is the most down-to-earth, grounded individual I think I've ever met in my life.
Well, that's
He's so
good to hear.
chill.
That's so
He
good.
walks by you. He doesn't ignore anybody. He says hello to everybody. And it's not on some fake Hollywood. Hello, I'm trying to make sure that I'm kind to everyone and make sure that you
Hello,
see me
little
being
person.
kind to all the. No, he's just being genuinely a kind guy. And I mean, as talented as he is kind, which is just, and he's an amazing guy and an
talented.
amazing musician. And then, of course, he had the best musicians. Say again.
And a great pianist too. I really enjoy playing.
Oh, he's incredible. And he sings, honey.
Oh,
He sings. I would just go,
I love that
what?
Michael McDonald riff that it's always like, it always
Oh,
has-
yep. No. Yep. I
Oh.
love that sound. But it's those, yeah.
I love what you said about just really studying the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
It reminded me of, I had all my parents' 45s and stuff growing up. And
Me too.
I mean, it's the best education. I when you were talking about Aretha, I thought back
Yeah.
to, I had the 45 of the house that Jack built.
Oh,
I would listen to it
man.
over and over, and there was a scratch in it. So it's at the end when she's like, I got the house, I got the car. And it would just play that part over and over. It was like,
I got the house, I got the car, I got the house.
I got the house. And I just, now it's weird listening to it on Spotify because it just goes cleanly.
Where's the skip?
Wait, she's got the
Right.
house.
It's hysterical. It's just the house. Wait, what happened to the house and the car all over again?
What about
I
Jack?
had the exact same experience with Rochelle Farrell. I got my first, I think her first record, I think I bootlegged it back in the olden days where you could play a CD and record it with a tape.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I taped it and the tape ran out in the middle of the song. And I had to hurry up and turn it over and then try to get the rest of the song. So every time I hear that song now, I'm like, this is where I would turn the tape.
It's like some of those albums you've listened to so many times, you can't hear the end of one song. That's the way Voodoo is for me, the D'Angelo. I can't hear the end of one song without immediately starting singing the next one. And then when you don't hear it, you're like, wait, where is it?
Oh,
wait.
That was another one. Mary J. Blige and D'Angelo did a tour together, and I was on that tour.
What was that like? Can we just talk about that for the next however long this is?
It got to the point where I would like throw on a face and then run out and catch their show. I'm like, I don't even care what I look like. Put a hair on it, it's fine. Dark lip, don't look up here, look at the lip. And I would just make sure that I just put a dark lip on and I would just sit out there and fan out like a little girl, like, and I mean, and it got to the point where I had to like block it out so that I could get anything accomplished, because it's like jazz meets P-Funk All-Stars meets like the Ohio Players.
So
it's
modern,
so
and
modern
to current things, and
it's so intellectual too. Like it's not just church chords. No, they'll throw something in there and you're like, oh,
And then you've got that great Pino Palladino bass playing on all that D'Angelo stuff, and just
Pino and my drummer, Jesus, and I see his face and I forget his name. Please do not charge it to my heart. Do not tell him. Chris Dave. Chris Dave. And I mean, we would all three of us sit around eating cake and laughing. And we would give each other dessert recommendations. Like just
so is that what we have to do to improve as musicians? We have to eat more cake.
More cake. Just saying.
You want to?
And then Pino, later on, we were on a whole different gig and he remembered my name. And I was like, Pino Palladino knows my name.
He knows my name. He knows my name.
It's the little tiny things. You got to make sure you're still excited about the tiny things.
You gotta be. Oh yeah, that was the question. Like what were we? Good things. Oh,
yeah.
Good things. Yeah.
Good things.
I mean, just listening to music has been a big good thing.
Time.
It's this time.
Yeah.
And for me, a big thing that I've been enjoying in COVID is the remote work. I love that there's been more remote work.
Me too.
And just the tech end of it. I love recording myself and, investing in preamps and just trying to do vocal sound, like nerding out.
Oh, it's so great.
I just love it. And it really fills the introvert part of my soul to just sit. Like you can't see my pants, but they're really comfy. And you got your
because the top is the only part that matters, man. Top is the only part that matters.
Got my slippers on. And then just video editing. I've gotten deep into video.
Yes. And editing, period. I love editing my tracks because I'm learning how to do it. It's so relaxing. And then to like have it seamless when it's done. Oh,
yeah.
In heaven.
People appreciate it too when you send them your stems and it's not all, ridden with and
so true.
Good for us all.
So true. Oh, there are questions. Oh, wait, let me see.
Oh. Yes.
Oh, yeah, you got them. I don't want to read them if you're gonna read them.
Sorry, Amanda, we kind of took over there.
I know.
Oh, stop! I was just like so much just learning just from you guys talking to each other. It's brilliant. No, I just wanted to say if you guys like have to hop off, I don't want to keep you, so cut me off.
No, I'm here. I'm excited. This is fun.
I'm one of these up till 3 a.m. people, so whatever I need to work on, I will work on it later.
Brilliant. Me too.
Same.
Don't tell my professors.
Right.
Someone, Michael asks, which musicians do you admire the most and what have you learned from them?
Oh.
Question.
Wow.
Gosh, it's funny. Most of my favorites have been instrumentalists, singers who play an instrument like exceptionally well. Because I feel like I'm getting that information through them. I mean, because I learned enough to play or to sight read and stuff, like on flute in junior high. And I tried to play piano a little bit, but it just didn't stick. And but it helped with my musicianship. So I like people who have exceptional musicianship, not just showmanship. I mean, there's a place for that. I get it. But I'm here for the excellent. I'm here for the people who put the time in and did their 10,000 hours before they got famous, so that they could actually bring something to the table musically and contribute to the conversation and move the art forward, as opposed to just, I don't know, I'm going to be famous and then I'm going to die and stuff. You're like, okay, I guess that's cool too. But I always have loved the people who are musicians first, even if they're, vocalists. Just people that are musicians first.
Even if they're female singers.
Right. Because there are female singers who don't play instruments who are incredible. Ella was one.
Yeah.
Ella didn't play an instrument. She played her throat. And I dare you to tell me that she is not a virtuoso completely. The sheer knowledge that she had to do some of those performances. It's like, how?
Oh, yeah.
How did you even think of that in the moment? Her live concerts blow my mind.
Incredible. I love some of the ones later in her life too, where she's a bit raspier. And maybe the vocal flexibility isn't as much what it was when she was younger, but there's this soul that wasn't there. As it's just the way it evolved was so beautiful.
Yeah, seriously. So just that, I love that level of musicianship that I can actually study and marvel at. Because the older you get, the more you work, the more experience you get. That's hard to find.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm always thrilled to actually hear something that inspires me to want to practice and want to, shed and want to get out there and learn it just to know it,
Yeah.
just for old school sake. That's it.
A couple
So,
people like that for me growing up. And these were people that I think combined the virtuosity with, I don't like when people, okay, they can play a scale amazingly, but there's no heart behind it. You know, if you're just doing runs to show that you can do them, I mean, it's cool, it's athletic, but it's not the kind of art I respond to. And growing up for me, Bill Evans and Jaco Pastorius were two people that I just dug so deep into their archives and their work, and I really felt their skill as musicians, but also them and the soul behind it. And those were two that I was pretty obsessed with in middle school or in high school, and then out of high school.
Yeah.
my list is too long. It's way too long. But the people that I obsessed with, still a long list, but it's definitely D'Angelo,
Yeah.
definitely Ella no, Sarah Vaughan was mine. Sarah Vaughan is my idol. I lived and breathed her for years at like from 12 to 18. I didn't do anything else. Her and Frank Sinatra.
Mm.
Frank Sinatra, people don't realize. I mean, people do. Of course, they know the genius that is him, but I don't think people realize the genius that he was as a vocalist. He was a vocal musician.
Yeah.
Like the way that he approached things, the way that he breathed through things, the way that he didn't breathe through things, the way that he closed his mouth completely so a hum was more reverent and still. Little tiny things about him. I was just enthralled. Same with Sarah.
I had an audition once where someone came up. They didn't like my performance, which was fine, but they came up to me and
Oh,
they're like, "Can you sing this more like Frank Sinatra?" I was like, Where even do you go?" They
okay.
were talking more about his storytelling ability, which was also
That
something that I thought was incredible.
incredible ability to tell a story
Yeah.
and to make himself relatable. I feel like he had a way of making everybody feel like we could go after this and go get beers and just laugh and hang
Yeah.
out at the bar. That's who he got.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way he came across to me. And I love that relatability. Like there was no, I'm up here and you're down there. No, he really just kind of gave me that. I'm your everyday guy. I
Mhm.
He could
smoke,
sing
I
about
get a
heartbreak
beer. Oh
and
my
and
God.
you'd be like, "Yeah, I believe that." Whereas some people, they sing and you're like, "Yeah, you've never been through anything hard."
And then there's
You
that.
you believe him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. But you knew he went through something.
Right.
You know he did. He went through something because
Yeah.
there's no way that you can get that kind of feeling in a song unless you.
Right.
And I think that's what I relate to too is people who can express that joy or that pain in a very transparent, uh, authentic way that
Yeah,
you can relate to it.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's honest. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sarah Vaughan, though, I still remember the first time I heard Julia Bop and was just like, what?
My
What?
dad got me into her and we watched a PBS special and I was like, and I mean, I was 12 by then, and I pretty much
You
had a
were singing.
career of singing.
Yeah.
I was a singer already. I was a professional singer. So I'd pretty much heard a bunch of people, and at the time it was pretty much all gospel people. Because on top of Sarah Vaughan and Frank Sinatra, I was listening to Daryl Coley and Vanessa Bell Armstrong, and the Clark sisters and the
The
Pace
Clark
sisters and
sisters, yes.
Thomas Whitfield and the Winans and all those people. So that was a gospel excellence that I loved and I listened to. So I had no concept. I was like, jazz, what's that? Okay. So then I heard this lady, I was like, oh my God, who is this lady?
Yeah.
Why does she sing like that? I don't understand.
That's
So
kind of how
then
I felt too, like when I first heard
yeah.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Not, I mean,
Oh
she was a great singer,
yeah,
but also just as the mother of rock,
absolutely. And the
with the
power
guitar
behind
playing
her
and the
voice.
power. And I remember the first time I heard her, I was like, wait, how have I never how
How
have I
is this
never
even
heard her
happening?
before? First of all,
Right.
it's wrong that she's not so widely known,
I know.
almost 100 years later.
I
Not
know.
quite
It
that much,
really
but
is.
yeah, it's these artists where you hear them and you think, how did I
How
exist?
did I not know? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Man, so many. Our list would be too long, I know. I know there's a bunch of people that if you said one, it would spark one for me.
Yes.
We'd be here all night long.
And then it would be like,
So-
oh, why didn't I say this? And especially if you say any people who are like exactly like peers around, and you don't want to say
Oh,
one
yeah.
person and then leave someone else out.
I know. But I have to mention Joni Mitchell too, who
Oh,
was
yeah,
life-changing.
Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell and Bilal, an R&B singer who I also studied. But Joni, that's another one. I think I heard River first and I was like, this is magical. I can see people, like I see people in my mind's eye, like on roller skates, or not roller skates, but ice skates, like skating on. Magical.
I can't listen to that song though unless it affects me very strongly. So I have to be in
Yeah.
a place to be able to deal with it.
Yeah. That in the case of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was love at
Steely
first
Dan
time.
is also one for me.
Steely Dan.
Whole category. I know it's
Whole
not a particular
catalog.
but Donald Fagen and his solo albums.
I live.
Yeah.
But even that introduced me to background singing. Because of course,
yeah.
you know, the gospel, of course, there's background singers and choirs and all that stuff. But then like I'm hearing Babylon Sisters for the first time and I was like, who are the Shake It ladies? Who are the Shake It ladies? I love them. I want to be a Shake It lady.
Who are the Shake It ladies? I wonder who they are.
Oh, it was the hot studio session singers at the time, because that's all Steely Dan was,
Yeah.
which is why people don't like them a lot, is because they pretty much used amazing
People
session
don't
singers.
like them because they're jealous.
Listen, and if you don't like them, I don't know if we can be friends. I'm just telling you right now up front. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I try to
Somebody
be
said that.
open-minded. I try to be open-minded, but
Try to love everyone.
there's
There's got to be a
that
line.
can't-
Yeah, it's got to be a line.
If you
And
can't
that's one of them.
be open to the greatness.
You have to.
Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Or like
I
Stevie
know.
Wonder or the Beatles. If you don't
the
at least
Beatles.
appreciate some of these people.
The Beatles. That's a whole other conversation for a whole different day.
Oh
my
master
God.
class in songwriting. Do you have a favorite album or like a favorite period for the Beatles or
60s?
Yeah.
Easily the 60s. That's my favorite.
Did you like them more the earlier 60s or the later 60s when they got a bit more out?
Late 60s.
Me too.
Absolutely the late 60s. When they stopped wearing the suits. I love when they stopped wearing the suits.
They were all kind of going in their own direction.
Yes.
You could hear John in his writing.
And I mean, somebody just said, I was listening because they have a Beatles channel on XM, which I adore.
They do, yeah.
Oh,
I love
but
it.
they said it's literally a band of leads.
Yeah.
You got 4 band leaders in that. It's like, I never thought about that. And they figured out a way. The output. Jesus. And then the way that they approach songwriting, all their different approaches.
And how many different people have been able to cover them and make it their own? I mean, what band can be covered by everyone from, a boys opera to
literally Sarah Vaughan.
Sarah Vaughan.
To the whole record of Beatles covers. I live.
Oh, I haven't heard
Oh, you got to hear it. Because it's all about And I Love Her. Oh, and I love her. And it's later on. It's like the late 70s, maybe early 80s.
Vibrato.
Yes.
Yes.
Her voice is deep and resonating in her chest. You're like, oh, I can feel her voice. Oh my God. So good. You could talk music, honey. And that's the thing. I think at the end of the day, I don't know if I can speak for you at the same time, but I was a listener first. I listened before I sang, long before I sang. So a lot of this stuff, I was just like, people like, what is she doing? Why does she do it? I would be like this all the time with my little headphones and my Walkman. And my Walkman became a Discman. And then my Discman became an iPod. Like, and I'm just still walking around.
Oh, yeah.
iPod became my phone. So like just
became a chip in the brain.
I know.
Now we're all up in the cloud.
I know, exactly. But just listen. And John Pizzarelli. I love John Pizzarelli too.
I gotta get in the I gotta get in the chat.
Yes. Okay, wait. So let me see.
We joke about all of some of the downsides of our business, but ultimately no one's making us do this. We're here. We love it. We wouldn't be here if we didn't.
What caliber of gun is that to my head? Yeah, there is not one. No. Yeah. No. I'm definitely coming back tomorrow.
Should I come help, Judy? Just kidding.
But like seriously, you're like, this is a crappy day, but I'll come back tomorrow. Fine. Yeah. Whatever.
There's a squirrel right out my window. Hello, Larry.
Oh, Larry. That's the funniest thing ever. All the squirrels are named Larry.
Yep.
Okay, wait, there was one way up. I don't know if HP is still here. I
Um,
hate to say it, but the pay for women in the industry fluctuates widely.
Mm.
We are definitely, as Sarah said a lot earlier, way earlier, for some reason we are, I mean, and I unfortunately meet the reason why we are treated the way we are on a regular basis. But we are kind of treated as, replaceable, and we're dismissed. So we are not paid like somebody else will be paid. And it can be 1/4 of what people are making, 1/2 of what people are making. It can be a fraction. But that's another thing for union work. You
Yeah.
know that every guy who's in that room is getting the exact same check, regardless of genitalia. And then a lot of the artists that I've worked for, female artists, God bless them, they're paying everybody the same thing, straight across the board. Everybody's making the same thing or very, very close. So I respect when people are, uh, how do you say, when they take care of everybody the same way, because women are fronting families too. We have the exact same bills. We all have to pay rent. We all have to pay
Right.
gas. We
Yeah.
all have to pay lights. We all have to eat. So the fact that one may be a head of household and one might not be, there are women who are heads of household too. And I really respect artists who say, no, everybody's making the same thing.
Yeah. I mean,
So y'all can talk about it all you want.
I don't go to the car wash and they go, "Oh, you're a woman. We won't charge you as much." Like that doesn't work.
They don't do that. They're not like, oh no, 75% of the price for you, young lady, because you have no,
But
that's not how anything works.
I think is, people take that forward. So, when I'm putting a band together and when I'm writing the checks to my musicians and singers, men and
Straight
women are
across
going
the
to be paid,
board.
singers and musicians are going to be paid the same in
That's
my
right.
world. And, it's, I think as more women are in positions of power to hire,
Yes.
they'll pass that on. And
Yep.
of course there's, so many men that want to do that too. So
That's true.
I think the more you get good people doing the right things, good things
Doing
happen.
the right thing. That's it. And then let me see, there was another. Oh, I think we may have done that one. Which musicians do you admire the most,
there
and
was
what
also
have you learned from
there,
them?
but they left, so
Oh,
they had to head out.
Sorry.
sorry. I hope you like Steely Dan. I hope we didn't lose Dan. You're like, I don't like Steely Dan. She doesn't want to be my friend. I'm out of here.
I'm
Bye.
out of here. Getting out. Leaving now.
No, Phoebe will just had to hop off, as the time went on.
Very controversial here with our yacht rock opinions. Sorry if we've offended anyone.
No, this has been absolutely brilliant. I feel empowered. I feel excited. You guys have been just the most fun, and your banter. I could sit and listen to you two talk all day.
Thanks for doing this. This is I'm having so much
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. I'm hoping to wrap it up a bit by asking you what's next? Like what projects are you working on? Like let's promote it, let's put it out into the world, let's support each other. Like what have you got going on?
Well, I mean, watch Genius Aretha Franklin on Nat Geo and on Hulu right now. And you will see my name come up at the end. And actually, they use my backgrounds for a lot of things too. So I think the opening song for every episode was my background. So I did all 3 parts. And then a lot of the other songs that kind of end within each episode. I provided either the bodies that sang it or I provided the actual vocals.
Can I ask you a question about that? I'm curious how you approach this when you are recording background parts, when you've got 3 parts and you're recording all of them.
Yeah.
Do you change your personality from take to take so it doesn't sound like you just stacking, or what's your
Yes, I do.
approach with that?
Yes, I do. I pretend that I'm literally a different person every time I do it.
Alto.
That's right. And it changes every time. So if it's very low or if it's, in a men's range, I pretend I'm a man. If it's very high and it's a light thing, I pretend I'm a bubbly, happy, extroverted soprano. And then if it's a weighty alto, I just, I pretend I'm smoking a cigarette. Find that deep contralto.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I take on a different personality for all of them. And it's like, who are those girls that were singing up like
the Toniettes? Toni is a new version.
Exactly.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you. I just wanted to.
I know. Sorry. Sorry.
That's brilliant. Sarah, any projects?
Projects coming up. I'm still promoting my most recent album came out in October. It was a live album called 2020, which when I picked the title, the year hadn't come and we thought it was going to be this amazing, bright, utopian tomorrow, us all walking into the future, hand in hand, singing. We didn't walk, but we sang. But yeah, so it's called 2020. It's a live album. And that is out right now. And then also, I've got 3 singles that I have been working on with Linda Taylor, who is actually here viewing. And she is a musician that I just look up to so much, incredible guitarist, composer. And we have a new tune coming out on Friday called Good, Good, Good. So I'm finishing up the video right now for that. So people can hopefully stream it, download it.
All right, yes, everybody go support, and everybody also check out Bebop and Blues if you're fans and you're just new here. It just that's all for me. Is there anything else you would like to add before we sign off here?
Oh, I forgot about singles. Yeah, all of it's on my webpage. It's my name, www.toniscruggs.com. I forget. And I forgot a lot of stuff until my friend was like, okay, we got to update your webpage. And I was like, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh, okay. So there's all kind of stuff on there. I think I actually sit in with Kelly Clarkson's band now on her daytime talk show every now and again. So I have a few of the clips there. I think the Dune trailer that I sang is there. Almost all the stuff that I'm working on is there, including my little bio, and I think the links are clickable for iTunes Music and for Google Play or something like that. So if you click them, it'll take you where you can buy them.
Oh yeah, click them,
Yes.
everyone. Click them. Yeah.
The one I'm most proud of though is my Aretha Franklin, my version of Aretha Franklin's Skylark.
Yeah. Oh.
And that, yeah, it's one of my favorite songs ever. And she does this like killer octave up thing in the middle. And I'm like, that was another where I was like, who thinks like that? Oh my God. So that whole record, yeah, I learned every note and every run and every riff. And whenever anybody says, what do you want to do? I'm like, Aretha Franklin. I want to be Aretha Franklin when I grow up.
Yeah.
Any song. Right. But her jazz stuff, more than anything else, is what melts my heart, because she was an incredible jazz head too. Who knew?
Yeah.
She was a jazz head. She wanted to be a jazz singer.
Don't think of her as a jazz singer.
She wanted to be one.
Right.
She came out of the gate singing Barbra Streisand stuff and freaking show tunes and all kind of, standards. She wanted to be a jazz singer like, the rest of us do. Shoot. But yeah, she's definitely a goddess. And I did a copy, pretty much almost verbatim copy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Verbatim copy of her version of Skylark. So if you like her, it's all on my website, toniscruggs.com.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. This has been insane. This is our second one, and we had people last time, and it's very exciting.
Oh, so cool.
So thank you so much for being here with us and for all your insight.
A pleasure.
Happy
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Month.
Yes, Women's History Month.
2 more days, right? Is this 30 days?
Oh, dang, that's right.
Women's History all year, though. We love
that. Right.
That's right. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, also for staying past and hanging out with us and asking questions. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your evening and week.
Absolutely. You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Do we leave or do we? I don't know.
Yeah, you can tell me.
Okay. I'll just freeze, kind of like.
I'll end it. I'll end it right there. Smile.
Okay.